Welcome to Media Goes Full Paxman. Tonight sees the first real test for the 4 remaining candidates battling it out to be your next SU president. The election starts here and now, with polls closing on Thursday evening. Up next is 4th year Mech-Eng student Jason Saladanha. Saladanha. So close. Okay, so now we turn to our first question. What is different between your so-called discussion forums and the current existing SU officer questions? Aren't they just exactly the same thing?
They are.
Then why are you trying to rebrand it as something new, something different, when actually you're just replicating what already exists?
We are definitely replicating what already exists, but this is more personal. For Meet with the SU officers, it's a great opportunity for everyone to come in, but people feel it's very general assembly types where people come in and question you. I want to make it more personal, so people can come and say hello, hi, what's going on, and be more open and say, you can just chill out here and meet the SU officers rather than say it's a bit too serious or not.
Do SU officers have time to kind of just casually converse with many different people? Surely they couldn't give enough time to kind of have a kind of personal connection, as you kind of talked about, with the people that have kind of issues and problems.
Well, I think, sorry to talk before you spoke.
No, it's fine.
I think being SU leaders, I think it's very important to build that rapport with the students. We are there for them, and we're not there to attend meetings and be in interviews and just do that. Be in our suits. We need to be with the students, know what their actual problems are, rather than saying, "Oh, I think that that's a problem," and work on it. We need to know what the right problem is. So I think it is very important to build a rapport with every student.
Have you actually been to an SU questions, officer questions?
Yes. In second year. I don't remember when it was, but I did once.
So as you're probably aware, they're very low turnout. Not many people come. Normally it's only those really engaged with the SU. Yeah. How will we know that you will definitely be able to deliver increased turnout?
That's definitely one of the big problems. And I think for me, there's my third point which comes there, communication and media. I want to build the media up because our media is doing a great job, but they're not getting enough recognition. Probably it's the infrastructure that needs rebuilding. Or probably we just need to put a word out there that media exists. CTV does great videos. I think they need to get a very good platform so that their views are just not in 600s but in 5,000 or 10,000s, where a student limit is.
But how would you achieve that? I mean, realistically, how would you do that?
I think we need to tell people that there's CTV. To be honest, when I used to, I don't have lectures now, I have a project work. When I was in lectures, I used to say, "Oh, I'm doing an interview for CTV," when I used to work for them in second year. And they were like, "What is CTV?" The people are not aware of it. So, of course, CTV and, radio does a great job there, out there. But I think people need to know through Facebook, definitely, but through personal engagement. That's very important for them to know that there is a media, and then build that communication up so that they can know there's stuff happening around. There are great events happening every other time from societies, and they're not advertised quite as much as they should be.
So is the main problem with media just a lack of engagement, a lack of understanding?
I think it's two things. One, I think students, of course, are busy with their own, education, studies and everything, so they are not that aware. They don't want to be aware, probably. And it's also the lack of engagement from all of us.
You failed to kind of mention your kind of descriptions of what you do with media, the actual kind of the infrastructure, the sort of things that the media are actually wanting. Do you know what the media wants?
That's what I need to talk to them. Of course,
surely it's a problem and a kind of issue with your candidacy if you don't know the subgroups that you're supposed to be taking responsibility for. And I mean, I've got a kind of question here next, which is like, can you name, like, aside from media, what is the other subgroup that's under the responsibility of the SU president?
There are many. Buses, accommodation.
The actual, like, subgroup section of the SU, kind of formative section.
What do you want me to specify? There are many, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's kind of in the same way as media, something very similar to media.
Yeah.
But yet the new, like, an organisation, a section of the SU, which is coming forward, which will be under your remit next year.
I don't know what you're trying to ask, but I think I'll find out when it comes to me.
But surely this is an issue. So the new politics and activism subgroup, which has been brought forward after a policy was submitted and passed, surely that's an issue. It's the very fact that if you don't even know that things are going forward, how can we trust you as a candidate and know that you have the knowledge to really engage with these SU issues if you don't even know what falls under the purview of the SU president?
I think not everyone knows what the SU president does as a whole. That's the transparency I want to get out there. You know, me being a student and having 24 hours of work, and when I don't know what the SU president does, I think it's a transparency that needs to come out there, and that's what I want to get in. Probably I do not know that now. I accept, but I think that's where I can build on. Someone who already knows it can think that he already knows it and not work on it, but someone who doesn't know can actually work on it to know more and build a better...
Do you believe that, despite the fact that you don't really engage with the process as it has happened, that you can actually deliver this new subgroup and make it a success in the first year if you are elected?
Definitely. I mean, I can never say no to challenges. It's always really good to see that there's new things happening, and if it will help the student body, definitely. I think my support and contribution to the SU will be 100%, and not just from the forum manifesto and winning perspective.
But how will you do this? How like kind of, you know, you need to give detail and these sorts of things. Like how will you make it, you know, make these things a success? How will you make the kind of new group? Because of course it won't have the awareness of the other groups that already you say have problems with awareness. So how will you break through and like kind of skip the gap?
Skip the gap. Fair enough. Like. The best thing about you know, these elections are you have so much time before you actually take over that you can actually learn what's going on. And for me, if I get elected, and I think the best candidate should be elected, I will sit with the current SU president, who has done a really good job, and see what's going on. What difficulty? Yeah.
You're basically saying that students will just have to trust you. You know, they just have to think that. You know, somehow this guy's got, you know, kind of proved that he's got the right skills, but we don't really know the kind of detail, and you're just asking people to trust you. Sure, that's not enough.
Oh, but see, there's not a single leader, I believe, who has come out there and said that I know everything. No one knows everything. You need to.
But surely these are like base issues of your role, which you're running for next year.
Which are the basic issues?
Well, it's this new subgroup. The very fact that you don't know what's know that this, and you haven't done any kind of research for running for this role. So, you know, that's the kind of issue with your candidacy, and the very fact that you're just like, oh well, I'll learn it when I need to after I get elected. So this shows the kind of it's more the kind of career step, and more kind of you're just doing it for the kind of the role when it happens, but not actually kind of a long. You can't prove a long-term engagement with the SU.
No, I think there's one thing I can say on that. To be honest, I don't. If it was just for the role, I would say, oh, I will learn it tomorrow. I cannot learn it tomorrow. There's a lot of things that come under the remit. Sure, the new subgroup that's happened, I'm not aware of it. Apologize for that. I should have known that, and I will learn about it. I think that's at the extent of where I can go about it.
Okay. So in URB's opinion poll, you came last out of all the candidates, including one which withdrew before the campaigning began. How does this make you feel?
I think that's because I haven't done much campaign from the first 2 days. It makes me feel positive because now I can actually step up. Go higher. I can't go lower anymore. I can actually get good votes and go higher.
Is it positive to only have the support of 5% of students on campus?
Well, I think we should look at that on Friday when the elections actually happen.
But surely this is a critical problem for your campaign. You know, you're always talking about, you know, selling yourself as that I have the ability, the knowledge to kind of make these things more visible.
Sure.
But your campaign isn't visible.
Right.
People don't know about your candidacy, your campaign, or maybe you just don't have the detail in your policies to get things across.
Oh, I mean, the campaign didn't happen for the first 2 days. Basically, on the fact that everyone will campaign for the first 2 days, people will be just filled with information. I don't want to be lost in that group, so I started a bit late, but to the right audience at the right time. Because I went to accommodations personally, yesterday all night and spoke to each one of them and said, this is how it is, this is how I'm going to work
So
for
more
you.
personal approaches that you were talking about earlier in terms of communication with the electorate, in terms of the discussion forums, the same sort of formats. That's going to be something that characterises your leadership then?
Yeah, that's what I want to take forward, you know, like I want to build that personal relationship rather than just be in the office.
Seeing as you only got 5% in the poll and you haven't been particularly visible.
I'm sorry, I've not seen the polls. I don't know.
I mean, it'll be released before this programme is aired. But surely this kind of means that you're not going to win, are you?
Oh, you never know. I'm always positive on that behalf. I mean, if it's 5% votes, I think, like I told you earlier, I can only build from that. I can't go below that. I can't lose from 5%. I can only win from 5%. So I have a positive hope. I have some good campaigns set up for the next 2 days when the elections are going to happen. And hopefully that's going to work for me.
Okay. So one of your main campaign promises is for this idea of this kind of 24 hours food services and rest area. How much will this rest area cost and where will it go within the SU?
Right. Very good question, and I've had this question a lot of times. For me, the first floor of the library, if you see, there's a lot of journals that are not used at all. And I think they could all be put online. There's so much space you can make there. And I'm not saying about luxury sleeping pods with 40,000 per head. We're not trying to be a restaurant or a hotel here. We're trying to. I'm personally trying to get that 1% of healthy behavior, healthy issue in students, so that they can, when they do all-nighters, and sometimes they don't have anywhere to go.
Talking about healthy living, but surely having those rest facilities surely just chains people more to the desk. The very fact that they don't even have to, say if they're second, third, final year, they don't have to leave campus anymore to go home for sleep. So therefore they're all tied to their work.
Well, being a mechanical engineering student myself, all-nighters are inevitable. I have to do them, even if I start working from day one or start working on the day at the end of the day. But if there is a facility where I can quickly go rest and I can re-energize myself and not put my life into danger, I think I would take that rather than staying up all night doing it and then trying to get back to the schedule again. It's a big hassle.
If we turn on to the second part of this, which of course is the 24-hour food services, would that really be value for money?
Oh, okay. What happens currently? 10 p.m., fresh closes, we just take food and hope that it lasts. I'm not saying build a big cafe just dedicated for 24-hour service. We can just have a hot food dispenser. Which.
But then why do you need kind of? Surely the 24-hour services are already provided by, say, the vending machines and library. There's access to food. Why do you have to go beyond that to insert an actual kind of a shop of like more established facility to which to give food? Why go through that expense? Surely
the vending machine just gives you chocolates and crisps, which is not healthy, and it gives you the other vending machine gives you coffee and I think a bit of soup. Is that enough to
stay the whole night? But how many people actually will use this 24 hours? So in the kind of deep part of the night, there's not going to be that many people doing all-nighters. So, and with wages and other things, especially because it's deep into the night, surely it's not going to make value for money. Surely, only a few people are going to use it and the overheads are going to be huge.
You don't have to have a dedicated service just for a 24-hour service. I mean, we could just have a drive-through drive-through fresh, where you can go there, 24-hour service, get your food probably, or maybe it's just a hot food vending machine which is right there, just similar to what's already there, but hot food dispensing, so that if you want to get food and if you're left with chocolates and.
But will lots of people want to? That's the question. Will the demand be there to afford the cost?
That's the question. There will be a lot of demand because now it isn't there, and people just order from Domino's or. I'm sorry, shouldn't take names, but then most of the takeaway places.
But then you're just presuming that the demand will there. Again, it's kind of trust, and it's kind of an issue that aren't these decisions could be misguided by the fact that your interpretation may not actually fit what is going on across campus.
I think if I didn't do it personally, If I didn't see people doing it personally, I wouldn't say it. I think I personally have experienced it, and I've seen people getting stuck here because there are no buses and then just sleeping on the floors.
Yeah. So if we turn to kind of the last question about your accommodation and housing commitments.
Yeah.
So you, in your manifesto, you talk about encouraging the university to build accommodation, purpose-built accommodation for people not in first year. So how is this viable when the university is struggling to house all of its first years?
And sorry, I just reiterate that. I didn't say not for the others from first years. First years, of course, they need places on campus. But second years, I want to build more facilities so that they can find houses. Probably an app where they can actually see where the houses are, get to the nearest district. And if they want cheap houses, say cheap houses, expensive houses, closer to the university, further than the university, and look for themselves as easy as possible.
But surely these kind of hosting services and these things kind of, they already work within the kind of how, for people to advertise their rented property, and you can see it on a map and stuff. Surely students do that already.
It's on a map online.
Why do the SU have to put forward this further cost? Why the SU have to host these things?
That's because as an SU, we work for the students. We don't work for the university, do we?
No, but how are you going to guarantee that you're going to offer a better service, and how are you going to enforce any kind of restrictions or regulations on the SU, despite since you don't have any actual legal powers?
Yeah.
How are you actually going to do it?
I don't think anyone does have legal powers except for the senior management. But what we can do is we can push for it, because personally I see a big problem where students live in someone else's house just because there's no accommodation available. So if there's a dedicated service available for that in your phone, and say, okay, I can't find a house, can I find somewhere further away? I think that's perfectly useful for the students.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the interview. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.